My name is Jeanne Tsai, and I'm an associate professor of psychology at Stanford. And the Culture and Emotion Lab is a group of my students, basically graduate students and undergraduates and postdocs, who study how our cultural ideas and practices shape our emotions. We've done a lot of work over the years trying to answer this question: what are the specific ways in which culture influences our emotions? And all of our work is really suggesting that culture influences the emotions that we ideally want to feel, what we call ideal affect, maybe in some cases even more than how much we actually feel. And so our work is really focused on comparisons between American and East Asian cultures, specifically Chinese cultures. And what we find in our studies is that American culture really emphasizes or values excitement and enthusiasm, or what we call these high arousal positive states, much more than Chinese culture, for example. Whereas Chinese culture really emphasizes calm, serenity, what we call low arousal positive states. In one series of studies, we looked at best-selling storybooks in the United States and compared them to best-selling storybooks in Taiwan. And we basically looked at the emotional content of these best-selling storybooks. We looked at the emotional expressions on the characters' faces, and we also looked at what kinds of activities they were engaged in. And we found that, consistent with our other findings, that the characters in the best-selling American storybooks had much more excited and fewer calm expressions on their faces, and they were engaged in more physically rigorous and exciting and stimulating activities compared to the characters in the best-selling Taiwanese storybooks. So you can see, this is a sort of a window into how people are learning to value these states in their cultures, that the kids read the storybooks and they sort of learn how they should want to feel. I think the best example of that is our Chinese Americans. They're bicultural in the sense that they're living in the United States, and in many cases very, very acculturated to American culture. They identify as Americans, but they're also very much shaped by the Chinese culture that they were raised in their households by their parents. And what we find is that they're like their European American counterparts in that they really value excitement states much more than Hong Kong Chinese individuals. But they're like their Hong Kong Chinese counterparts in that they value calm states much more than their European American counterparts. So they're influenced by both cultures. They value excitement and calm states. And this has all sorts of implications for the kinds of things that they do in their lives. What they do to try to feel good, how they think of well-being and depression, even what kinds of decisions they make. We've got one study in the lab right now where one of my graduate students is looking at how people's ideal affective states, or the emotional states that they value, influence what kinds of health decisions they make, like what kind of physicians they prefer and even what kinds of medications they're willing to take.